a downward trajectory of documented cases, I would anticipate that, or a downward trajectory of positive tests as a percentage of total tests. And y'all can see that, again, by the chart that I showed you. The other key portion of this is to treat all patients without crisis that are in the hospital. So in other words, we've been very focused on the surge capability at both Baptist, St. Vincent's, and at Orange Park Medical Center. You say downward trajectory still has some ventilators that are there. They don't necessarily have patients in their ER facility. As a percentage, we took all of those along with Kindred and monitoring the number of ventilators and beds that each one of the facilities has patients available to them. And I can tell you that they have surge plans. So in other words, we've been very able to double the amount of Tallahassee with the state and to have a basically stand up a hospital here to treat those folks in a facility that we've identified locally, and to have all the beds and ventilators that are available. We went out with that for, it's probably about 4 weeks ago or so at this point. And also this robust testing. This is going to definitely be an area. You all see in New York, the governor is looking at the antibody testing. I don't have any information about that for you here. I can tell you overall from the beginning and since the beginning, testing has been a challenge based upon the materials that are needed, the test kits and the swabs that are there. So that has been something that really isn't prevalent. If you take a look at overall, after being in this within 6 to 7 weeks now at this point, we're still not there just yet. At this point, though, that antibody testing to me is going to be key. And then obviously the at-risk healthcare workers, we're doing that right now with that IMT, the team from the state. So moving forward, once you get through the gates, you go into the phase, and it's a phased approach. And I'm going to switch up here to phase 1. So when you get to phase, go ahead, Scott.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
I don't know if this is the case for everybody, but my screen is still on the dashboard.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, mine too.
Huh, okay. Let me see if I can fix that. I'm sorry about that. Let me just take a look at that real quick. How about, wait a minute. Share. Give me just a second, Scott. I'm sorry about that.
Sure.
Just a comment, if I might. That's a very
Yes, sir.
cool. It also allows you to look at zip codes.
It does. Yes, I didn't bring that up, and it's very detailed within the zip codes and very telling when you get into the zip codes also on the dashboard. Yes, sir. That's another great tool that's there. So y'all should be seeing phase 1 now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sir.
Okay, you didn't miss. I had the other slide up there that just gave the 3 gates going through. So I want to just point out, taking a look at this, where you are within phase 1. Really, phase 1 is kind of where we are right now. It's a little bit modified in some minor areas, but you look at this social distancing of 10, no more than 10 people, socializing no more than 10. And this is key here: minimize non-essential travel. Okay, and adhere to the CDC guidelines. If you've gone on travel, you've gone overseas, you've gone on an aircraft, you're going to self-quarantine for 14 days. And most importantly, at the top here, all vulnerable individuals should continue to shelter in place, or that executive order about staying home, like I mentioned before. Going up here to phase 1 for employers, it's highly encouraged to telework. I think like the city of Keystone Heights, the county has also really forced this. About 100 employees are taking advantage of this teleworking or a modified type of work schedule out of 600, just to give you an idea. Return to work in phases would be something to think about. Common areas, Obviously, you don't want people to congregate in those areas. And then here again, minimizing that non-essential travel. And then special accommodations for personnel who are vulnerable, considered vulnerable population, i.e. age or a medical condition. And we've done that too. We've asked anyone over the age of 65 what they'd like to do, work from home, or just take some time off and paid time off. And we've accommodated them that way. And they're taking sick leave is basically what it is. On phase one, on the specific types of employers, you can see up here that schools and organized youth activities should remain closed if they were currently closed. And that was announced on Saturday that students will, throughout the state of Florida, will continue throughout the school year, the rest of the school year virtually. And that was put out. Visits to senior living facilities should be prohibited. That's still ongoing. Large venues, and they can operate under strict physical distancing protocols. To me, the strict would be that we still maintain the takeout with regards to the restaurant, but we may get some additional guidance with regards to the governor's office here later this week on that. And I'll show you that in the other phases in a second. Elective surgeries can resume here as appropriate. Gyms can open if they adhere to strict physical distancing, and bars should remain closed. If you go, and sorry about that, it's jumping just a little bit here. Okay. On phase two, so moving into phase two would mean a continuous 14-day period or thereabouts, okay? And as we look at these numbers decreasing, we could move into phase two. And you can see that some of these items are taken off, okay? You're still vulnerable individuals should continue to shelter in place. When in public here, the social setting is now no more than 50, okay? Non-essential travel can resume. If you look at the employer and I'll just jump to the specific employer type. The schools and organized youth activities can resume. Again, those visits to senior healthcare facilities should be prohibited. Large venues now can operate under moderate physical distancing protocols. And again, moderate to me would mean maybe that every other table or 6-foot distance within the restaurant in that. Elective surgeries are there, resumed. Gyms I mentioned, and now bars can operate with diminished standing room occupancy. I think that's part of what was put out before, maybe a 50% occupancy within a building or a restaurant that has a bar. On phase three, even more is rolled back. Again, that focus on vulnerable individuals within the public, and then those low-risk populations should consider minimizing time spent in crowded environments, okay? So if you really feel vulnerable in that, you shouldn't be going out in a large environment. If you notice, in phase three, there's no talk about 50 or more. On phase three, employers, unrestricted staffing of work sites, so you can bring people back. The visits to senior care facilities are theirs, can resume those visits. Large venues, those sit-down dinings, movie theaters can operate under limited physical distancing. So maybe, on that one, you just take a look at large parties, large groups, and you're not putting a lot of people within that restaurant area. Gyms remain open, and then bars may operate with increased standing room occupancy. So those are the phase threes that are there. Always, and when you look at the vulnerable individuals and in the appendix of this, elderly individuals, and then individuals with serious underlying health conditions, and those are listed up there. So I wanted to go over that. If I was really to take a look at this timeline and when we could begin phase one, I really would be hopeful sometime this week that we could begin phase one, but I'm really looking at probably next week. And then we're looking for those 14 days straight as we have this downward trajectory, and then moving into phase two and phase three. And if we're moving fast out of that, then we can start shedding and moving to the later phases. Any questions at all on that?
No.
Okay. Our focus really has been on a bunch of different areas, but mainly in the human services area. The EOC team came out with regards to feeding those that are out there that have lost their jobs, that don't have enough money for food, and we don't want people to go hungry. So we've, on average, 97,000 meals weekly have been given out. That's both at the school side on the senior center side, and on our side that we're distributing to the 6 food pantries that are out there. So quite a large number of meals have been given out, and I can see that this is going to continue out into the near future, as people are still going to be looking for jobs and getting back to employment. The other was unemployment benefits. I think you all heard a lot about this, was that the website crashed, the phone system couldn't handle it, they didn't have enough staffing at the state level at DEO. They have a new website that's up there, but we went ahead and anyone can call, and I want to put this number out. The EOC call center, our Clay County EOC call center, is 1-877-252-9362. If anyone has a question or problem, it doesn't matter what the topic is, they can call and get an answer. Okay, even after hours, normally it's published 8 to 5, but after hours, somebody would answer the phone and help them out and get them an answer at least by the next day. So I wanted to make sure too, we went ahead and printed out the unemployment forms. FedEx has partnered with the state to print them also out and to deliver them. I believe it was late last week, it was at least 20,000 unemployment claims had gone out, but approximately 800,000 folks through the state of Florida are looking to apply for unemployment or have already applied. So some really staggering numbers on unemployment, and we wanted to make sure our citizens here in Clay County had an opportunity to apply, and we're standing by to help them out in any way there. So those are some of the human services side, food delivery, and donations. So I'll also put out there, if somebody would like to donate or volunteer time, it's volunteers@claycountygov.com. You can visit our website to volunteer. If somebody would like to make a donation of a non-perishable items, that's what we're really in need of. Please just give that 1-800 number a call. We'll put you in the right direction. And what we've been doing has been the collection point for Northeast Florida, and then distributing those foods out and those meals out to all 6 of our food pantries and food banks. So those were some of the things I think Scott wanted me to touch upon to kind of give you a snapshot of where we are today in this. If I was to anticipate, we've been in it 6 weeks now. There's another 6 weeks before we get to that phase 3 is the bottom line, and really out of the woods and moving forward. On the economic side for businesses, our small business loans, obviously y'all have heard about that. The $350 billion was already distributed. That the next program, it may be out by now, $250 billion more. The chamber is helping our small businesses to apply for that. And there's going to be a lot more involved with this. We had an economic summit last week to talk to some of the businesses throughout Clay to really take a pulse of where they stood. The numbers were staggering at the Orange Park Mall, for instance. 87 out of 120 of those are mom and pop stores and storefronts. They're all really hurting. Those about 20 more, flagship stores or those that are out there, even those only have a limited supply of cash that's going to keep them online, like the JCPenney's out there and so on and so forth, and Kohl's. When we looked at it, we had Grumpy's. Daniel was part of the phone call, and then we had Gordon Chevrolet was also part of it. Really staggering numbers when it comes to automobile sales, down 50%, servicing vehicles down 40%. It tells me that people are adhering to that social distancing and staying at home, but we really need to start moving towards people getting out there and start this economy back up. And we're really, really focused on that in the weeks ahead. So that's really it. That's all I have. I'll take any more questions if anybody has any.
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing, very informative information. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor. And I can tell you, Scott, like I said, we talk every other day, if not daily. He knows if there's any issues, we tackle them together. Really, truly, this has been a concerted team effort. And I want to thank you all for your leadership there in Keystone Heights. And if there's anything that you need, please just let me know and give me a call.
Thank you very much, Howard. Really appreciate it.
You got it, Scott. Take care. Good luck today in your virtual meeting as you continue on. And we have our virtual meeting for finance and audit tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So please pass word on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye now.
Sorry, I was avoiding a technical glitch. I had to plug my laptop in. Power, we need it. Okay, then moving on in the agenda, we are at the agenda item 4, resolutions, ordinances. Is there a motion to read by short title, item 2020-585, ballot petition ordinance, first reading?
We
have
missed,
public comment.
we missed
Oh, I'm
item.
sorry. Move right past it. Is there any public comment cards, Ms. Burkowski?
Madam Mayor, I have none at this time.
None at this time? Thank you. Resolution 2020-585, ballot petition ordinance, first reading. Is there a motion to read by
I'll make a motion.
title? Thank you.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. Mr. Commando.
Ordinance number 2020-585, an ordinance of the City of Keystone Heights, Florida, amending Chapter 3, Administration, Article 6, Elections, specifically Section 3.78, Election Petitions, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Are there any questions of the city attorney? This has been discussed in the past. Seeing none, is there a motion to pass ordinance 20? Oh, I have to open the first hearing. I'm opening a public hearing for ordinance 2020-585, ballot petition ordinance. Is there anyone who'd like to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, bring it back. Seeing no questions, is there any discussion?
This is just a housekeeping ordinance to confirm past practices, is it not?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing no discussion, is there a motion to pass?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. The second is a resolution 2020-03, FDOT agreement, ARV 50. Is there a motion to read by short title?
I'll make a motion to read by short title.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. We've now moved to special events. We have an event application for Wreaths Across America. Ms. Bukowski, did you want to speak to the event application?
Yes, so in your packet, Mr. Yates has applied for the annual Wreaths Across America on behalf of Joan Jones. This is an annual event that we have, well, it's an annual event. He's provided insurance and all of the information is right there in his application. He did not feel it was necessary to attend tonight via phone. However, he said that if there's any questions, he'd be more than happy to attend the next meeting.
Okay. Any discussion or questions for Ms. Burkowski of the event?
No.
Anticipating approval, we just may also want to at least make sure that any type of event approval is kind of conditioned on the idea that we're at a different place in the pandemic, and I think people will be understanding that there may be modifications that come up as we get closer to the date.
Yes. Is there a motion to pass?
I'll make a motion to pass.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. A special event, 4th of July, 5K run. Ms. Bukowski, did you want to speak to the event applicant?
Absolutely. I also have Miss Mary Miller who has Miss Carrie Collins on the line, and she'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. This is going to be I apologize. This is going to be the new 5K on the 4th of July. So, Miss Collins, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Perfect. She is the applicant, and she's here to answer any questions regarding regarding the application and the event.
Are there any questions of Ms. Collins of the event?
No. No.
No questions, Mr. Hart?
It appears that the format is pretty much similar to what the Kiwanis did, same setup, same timing, arrangement, and so on.
Yes, the format is still the same. In fact, that route I took from a previous race that was run with the Kiwanis, I believe in like 2014. The timing company is actually a different timing company. The timing company they used was no longer actively doing timing and had procured it out to or designated it out to another company. So a new timing company, I contacted JTF Racing in Ponte Vedra, and they are super excited, and they've done races in St. Johns County, Green Cove, etc. So I think the agreement is in the event package as well. And just, based on what the gentleman was from the EOC was just talking about, even though he did say he expects in 6 weeks to be at phase 3, which is the end of May. I just wanted to say that I spoke with the race director today, just in case there were any questions about physical and social distancing. And he said that absolutely we could do a wave start like they do with the Gate River Run, where, you can distance people out. They start, in waves. And that, the registration tables can be put up, so they're separated as far as people picking up their packets and making sure that, they're staying a distance apart, if at that time it's even necessary. So there are lots of ways to accommodate any modifications.
Are there any other questions, Ms. Collins?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Wachowski and I had a pre-meeting this afternoon just so that we could prepare her for this meeting. There is a financial component she's requested, and we will need to schedule a CRA meeting to address that if in fact her event is approved this evening. So just know we will see her in May should her event be approved.
And Madam Mayor, if I may, this is a 2-part application. If the event is approved tonight, then it will have to come before the council at the next meeting for a resolution for a road closure.
So there's additional work to be done. So what is the pleasure of the council on the 5K run?
Madam Mayor, I believe that this would be a good start to a bad situation we've been in the past several months. And I make a motion we accept this application.
Second that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. Ms. Collins, will be seeing you soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. We're moving on to appointments. We have several this evening, starting with the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. The Clay County seat, Mr. Scott Fryer has applied for the position again. Is there any discussion over this applicant?
I think Scott Fryer is an outstanding individual, and I think he should be reappointed.
I agree.
Is there a motion to approve Scott Fryer for the Clay County seat on the Keystone Heights Airport Authority?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. We have seat 4. Applicant is David Kirkland of the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. Is there a motion to approve David Kirkland?
Go ahead, Steve.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. There is a position open on the Heritage Commission.
Actually, Madam Mayor, there are more than one position. We'd like to defer this to the next meeting because the commission has not been meeting and we need to solidify a couple of things.
Okay,
To the May meeting, that would be appreciated.
okay. Please show that being tabled until the May 4 meeting. The consent agenda. On the consent agenda this evening, we have the minutes from the March 2nd meeting and the March 13th meeting, the financials from February, and the payables from February. Is there a motion to move all three?
Make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. We're on to old business. Moving right along. Old business A, Keystone Heights Police Protection. Mr. Cornegay, you want to take that one?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. So nothing really has changed over the past several weeks. As we all know, we've been dealing with the COVID-19, and I have not heard back from the Keystone Heights Volunteer Fire Department in terms of requesting a presentation or anything from them. So essentially the ball is in their court right now, and there's really nothing more for us to do until we hear back from them.
Okay, so we're showing that table for the day.
The requested action would be to table for next month. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please show that item being tabled for May 4. The city manager evaluation, I believe we tasked Vice Mayor Hart with this task. Do you want to report?
Yes, you did, and we, Scott and I had a chance to meet once. He shared some numbers with me, but I don't think we're prepared to present anything to the council tonight until we see some concrete language. But we are, I believe, quite close to getting this wrapped up.
Okay.
We'll go over to the May meeting. That would be appreciated.
We can table that item certainly until May 4. Show it tabled.
Thank you.
The last item under old business is the trailhead plans and bid process. Mr. Cornegay?
Yes, ma'am. So we had our mandatory pre-bid for this project scheduled for March 17th. We all know that that was right near the onset of the local state of emergency, so we had to cancel that. And we're still trying to wade our way through with our engineer to figure out how to proceed, how best to proceed with this. So hopefully we can get another pre-bid scheduled in sometime early May, mid-May, and then we'll report back in June.
Okay. We will enter into our committee's reports. Budget and Finance. Mr. Brown, we have nothing to report for Budget and Finance.
Oh.
Vice Mayor Hart, do you have anything to report on Growth Management?
No report.
We can bring on Chairman Kirkland of the Keystone Airport Authority. Is he with us?
Mr. Kirkland, can you hear me okay?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, and staff. First, let me say special thanks for reappointment to the Keystone Airport Authority. Thank you for the confidence you have in me to serve in that seat. I appreciate that. Just a short briefing on the as the propeller terms. I believe Maria had provided a copy of that to Lynn, and perhaps you have that in your packet. Earlier in the month of March, I really had a fun time sharing an airport video and a Microsoft PowerPoint presentation on aerospace engineering to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, STEM students at Bradford Elementary School. These kids were very inquisitive, very excited about flying and airplanes, and very interested in what's happening at the Keystone Heights Airport. Very pleased that several of them knew where the airport was located and actually been there. So that was a fun time in sharing. Later in March, I think it's March 10th and 11th, Maria attended the FDOT Aviation Professional Academy course in Lake City. This is a course that FDOT Aviation Planning Office out of Tallahassee hosts, and it covers ongoing changes in the federal aviation database and how we as airports maintain and manage our facility and some future projects. So it was a good time. Maria was sharing that a lot of the airport managers that were present there actually really opened up and shared some concerns they had with some of the forms and the difficulty with filling those out. So it was a good time for them to exchange information. Maria said that the hosts were appreciative of that information and would do their best to try to correct it. On March 25th, Maria and Bill Prang, Todd Falconer, Diane Schultz, Jeff Hendry, Scott Cornegay, and Patricia Evans and I, we had a teleconference to hear an update from Todd and Bill about the proposed MHD Rockland campus. I'm not sure if I had shared this information with the council in a previous meeting, but AECOM is under contract with MHD Rockland to provide engineering services for this project. Bill basically provided some information on what the campus was going to consist of, also talked about some of the continued increase in costs that we're seeing on a lot of our projects at the airport and in the industry across the state. So there's some concerns that these additional costs and the required infrastructure is going to exceed the amount that was going to be available from Space Florida. So given that shortfall, all of us in this group, we're going to be investigating some other funding sources to help make up this difference. Good news, we have moved into the new FBO building mid-March. I just want to commend our staff for an excellent job in coordinating all of the entities that were involved, phone service, internet, AWAS, just a multitude of things, and they've done an excellent job in getting that done smoothly and still taking care of day-to-day business. Maria noted that the staff has completely moved in. They're just saddened, and it's a shame that right now we can't share it with everyone, but perhaps given Howard's information, maybe in 6 weeks, we can start looking toward setting a definite date for grand opening. We'll keep everybody in the information loop on that. The airport staff, with the onset of COVID-19, started issuing emails, posting signs, putting information out with respect to us closing the FBO and the administrative offices. We started that on the 20th of March. We've continued it to date and plan to continue it through April the 30th. We have put on our social media sites, as well as other sites where we advertise fuel prices, that our self-serve fuel continues to be available, and that the office staff is available by phone or email only during business hours, and we posted those times and dates. We are closed on Sunday, all day Sunday. One of the other things that Maria has been very involved in is working with local, state, and federal sources regarding COVID-19 emergency funding. We are an essential business as an airport, and so we do remain open. We want to protect our employees and staff, keep them safe. So we'll continue to stay closed until we're given the okay to open up to the public. One of our concerns was that we, along with a lot of other businesses, are seeing a very dramatic downturn in fuel sales. Fortunately, all of our leases have come in. People have been good there. We have no issues, but we do have some concerns about a loss of sales. And fortunately, we've had no issues with employees having to stay home because of COVID. But Maria is staying abreast of the CARES Act. And as a follow-up to that, you may have heard there's a $10 billion fund for the CARES Act airport grant. It's split up by states, and then from there it's split up between commercial, primary, and general aviation. For a general aviation airport like Keystone, $30,000 has been allocated to help us with any kind of economic disruption that we may have experienced because of the virus. Basically, employee wages that we may, if someone should be exposed to COVID, then we would have to quarantine them, and we would have to document that. And fortunately, that hasn't happened. So we're thankful for that. We're going to continue to respond to emails and calls. We have a lot of calls coming in every day. There are military groups that are calling in, trying to make plans for this summer for training. So we continue to take those calls, respond to them, and we have elected to postpone our meeting tomorrow night until the May 5th meeting. There are just some challenges technology-wise that we just don't have the time and haven't had the ability really to get that in place for tomorrow night's meeting. So we've notified our board members as well as others who typically participate in our meetings of that change. Maria is also required and has been reporting to FDOT Aviation and Clay County EOC weekly as to the airport status. And with that, that's just about everything that's been going on. We've had a few project update meetings. We have a couple of projects that are ongoing, teleconferencing to get updates on that. No problems, fortunately, so far due to COVID. Some of our contractors are sharing with us that they're aware of within their company other job sites that have been impacted by it. So we're thankful that ours has not. Any questions?
No, sir.
No questions? Mr. Kirkland, thank you for a most excellent report.
You're welcome.
Welcome back.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so concluding the airport's report, Ms. Rakowski, do you have anything for planning and zoning?
I do not this month. However, next month we will hear some process or some applications for new development.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Hart, is there anything to report for the Heritage Commission?
No, they haven't been meeting, so there's no report.
Under new business, we're ready to look at the interlocal agreement with Bradford County, Mr. Cordigay?
Yes, ma'am. So on Friday, Rich and Lynn and I, along with Chairman Kirkland, met with the Bradford County manager and the Bradford County attorney to iron out the final details of the agreement. And Counselor, if you want to weigh in here, that'd be just fine. I believe we're at a place that we're all comfortable with, and I think we'll be bringing the agreement to the May meeting for approval.
Yes, the Bradford County attorney is going to incorporate some of the discussion points from both the FAA as well as our city and provide us a final draft that hopefully we'll be able to look at to pass.
Excellent. So we'll see that on our May agenda. Excellent. Anything else on that, Mr. Cornegay?
No, ma'am, that's all.
Okay. We added a new item under new business regarding fencing. I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Cornegay.
Yes, ma'am. So we've been having discussions about replacing the chain link fence at the beach park. As everyone knows, it's in disrepair. There's gaps in it, and not to mention that it's unsightly. So I had hoped to get underneath the $10,000 threshold, so we wouldn't have to go out to bid. But I've gotten 3 budgetary quotes, and they're all greater than $10,000. So if that's something that the council decides to do, then we'd have to go through the formal bid process. So I just wanted to put that out there to you guys tonight. Maybe you could discuss it, and if you'd like for us to move forward with that, we would have to put some numbers together and bring it to the Budget and Finance Committee coming up next month, and then get a recommendation from that committee, and then move it forward to the full council. But before we do any of that, I think there needs to be some discussion amongst you all and determine if that's indeed where we want to get.
Mr. Brown?
Scott, what type of fence are you looking at replacing it with?
So we're going to go. We've reached out to other parks in the county, and the trend right now is the 6-foot black vinyl coated chain link fence,
Okay.
similar to what we used at the dog park.
Right.
Just looks so much better, so much more durable, and only slightly more expensive.
Any other?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown. Did you want to finish?
I think that would make the appearance a lot better. But if we need to make a motion, if a motion's in requirement to move this forward into the Budget and Finance Committee, I'll make a motion.
I think we can just move it by consensus as long as you're willing to go out for the RFP process.
I'm in agreement with doing it.
Me too.
I agree with that.
Okay, excellent. So we'll host a Budget and Finance Committee meeting next month, Ms. Kowski, if you want to help us schedule that.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we'll take it to Budget and Finance and bring it back. The discussion was around trying to, in the event we were able to host our 4th of July events here at our city properties, it would be nice to have all of that looking very pristine and clean for our guests and our visitors. And so I appreciate your agreement to move it forward. We'll have more discussion about it, but I think it would, again, improve the park.
I agree.
We're on to council comments. I'm going to start with Mr. Peoples. You're first up on my screen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I got a couple of points. I like to walk near dusk, usually in town. And last night I was walking on Jasmine toward Orchid and that last speed bump. And I got passed by a group of children driving a golf cart. 6 children stuffed into a golf cart with a little 8-year-old or 9-year-old girl hanging from the back. And they went over that speed bump. They got to be doing 25 or 30 miles an hour. And that little girl in the back just about fell off the back of that golf cart, face first onto the asphalt. It scared me to death, okay? I shouted at them. I said, stop. I got some profanity and a couple of fingers, and they headed toward Orchid and ran the stop sign and turned right on Orchid, and they were gone. I think we need to get some kind of a ordinance about golf carts because they are multiplying. I've seen parents driving after dark with children. I've seen children driving golf carts. There's no way they have licenses. The golf carts are not lighted. They're not, maybe some direction from the council to the staff to go ahead and maybe start formulating an ordinance for golf cart usage inside the city limits. And the other thing, I'm sorry.
I want to make sure to address it. Mr. Kowski, correct me if I'm wrong, we have an ordinance for golf carts.
I believe that they are not allowed inside the city limits, but I'll have to consult with the code to verify that.
I think if you would please verify that, because I think it's really an enforcement issue. It's not an ordinance issue.
Rich, do we have state preemption here that basically if we passed an ordinance, you would have to defer to the state anyway, as far as the equipment on the golf carts?
Actually, there's some guidance from the state traffic code. There's a lot of other local governments that do pass golf cart ordinances. You can look at it at the beaches. Nacatee's another big one. But then remember that by passing that kind of ordinance, you're allowing golf carts to run on public streets or to run on city streets, where right now they're not allowed. Right now, what the mayor's saying is correct. It's an enforcement issue where right now, if you call the sheriff's office, 1, someone that age shouldn't be driving it, and 2, they're just not allowed on the road because they don't have. I think they're required to have a screen, a windshield, a horn, lights, things of that nature. So I'm happy to move in whatever direction the council wants to, but just remember, by passing an ordinance that sets those types of regulations in place, what you're doing is you're effectively inviting them in.
If we could just ask Ms. Rukowski to confirm that with council from the May meeting, see what we have on the books.
I absolutely will. I will just advise council, as we do with anybody who calls in with something like that, if you see something, say it to the sheriff's office. They can't come out and help us enforce those codes, or in this case the laws, unless they know about it. And in this case, even golf carts after hours of any forms, we would have to rely on the partnership with CCSO to enforce those.
Mr. Peoples, you had another comment?
I just wanted to say thank you to the city staff and to the public works employees for doing an outstanding job keeping everything going during this time. And I just want to say thank you very much.
Yes, they are. Thank you. Mr. Hart, you're next on my screen.
I will second Larry's comment. I think the city is doing a great job under the circumstances. And thank you, Lynn, for being as techie as you are and save the day for me. That's all I am.
I'd say she is. She's done an outstanding job with this technology and really learning it quickly and implementing it. And it's been a very smooth transition, comparatively speaking, to other experiences of other cities. And I believe now, Mr. Brown, I'm down to you.
Yes, ma'am. I just echo the same remarks as the other colleagues, and would like to add one thing, is the volunteerism in this community has been shown so much since this has happened, and the groups that have come together to do food for the ones here in Keystone. I don't have the documentation in front of me about how many meals they've done. Maybe you can share with the group of us, Mayor, since you are involved with that. But being that this town is built on volunteerism, and it just echoes in this community with all the long hours and hard work that these volunteers have done for the people in need in this time. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And I will echo all of the other council members. Staff has done an outstanding job of keeping the business of the city of Keystone Heights going. And I know I continue to add to their workload when I walk and I find things and I send it to Mr. Cornegay. And I'm very appreciative of them addressing those things very quickly and as efficiently as possible. I did want to say thank you to the Keystone Safety Net Alliance this evening and shine a light on some things that the Alliance has done. We're calling it our COVID-19 response, and there's a group of people, largely at the time it was teachers who were not yet working, who really pulled together. And I can share with you that 475 families have registered with the Alliance as having a specific need. And the way we've been addressing those needs is we've been staging for those families at Keystone Beach. So again, thank you to the city for allowing us to use the pavilion for food storage and inventory. All of that food down there is purchased with money that we raise, and that food is given to those families who have raised their hand and say, we absolutely have a need. And so they're invited personally to the beach when we're able to give food, and they accept their box of food and then take it off. There's been another amazing resource in the Clay County Emergency Management. They've been, as Mr. Wanamaker indicated, they've been sharing the Northeast Florida food with us. So we're very excited. I know I can give you distributed fresh produce from the Clay County Emergency Management to 1,145 families in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've delivered 179 hot breakfasts and lunches to homebound seniors. And that's huge. I'm one of the people who makes those runs. And we went to a senior's house last Friday and she wasn't home. And that caused us great concern. And we knocked and the dog barked and she didn't come to the door and she didn't come to the door. And we called the Clay County Sheriff's Office and asked for a well check because we didn't want to leave the house without knowing where she was because she knew that we'd be coming and bringing her food. And as it happened, the neighbor came over who knew the woman, called somebody's business who knew somebody's girlfriend who got us the cell phone number, who called and said, she's with me. And it's kind of like, that's what really small towns do for each other. We don't leave each other hanging. We make sure that everybody's safe. And so I'm really, really proud of this community for doing those kinds of things, for performing those kinds of acts of kindness. There's over 135 people volunteering. Mr. Brown alluded to the fact that there were a lot of volunteers. Well, there's 135, and imagine, trying to herd cats. I mean, because that's really what you're doing when you have people with great energy who want to contribute. 107 people are receiving regular well checks, where somebody just calls them up every week and says, "How are you doing? Do you need anything?" Those are important phone calls for those folks. It's a lifeline. And I think when we're talking about, surviving a pandemic, offering lifelines is a lifeline. And so I'm really happy for that. We took over Lake Erie Ministries because most of the volunteers in that organization were in the high risk category. And since taking over Lake Erie Ministries, the Alliance has served 806 families with food. So the numbers are really big. I mean, the numbers are huge. And I know that Mr. Brown has served on some of those food distribution points. If you really want to get involved, please go onto Facebook to the Alliance page. There's a form there where you fill out. You can also, of course, volunteer with the county. But it's just been really rewarding to watch the motion. In fact, it's been so successful that Clay County Safety Net is adopting the same type of distribution program throughout the north end of the county. So you can be very proud of our little region. I think we're rocking it. So with that, I'd like to ask if there's any comments from the city manager.
Well, Madam Mayor, I just want to say thank you all very much for the kind words. This is, I must say, it's been taxing. We've been under a lot of deadlines and a lot of stressful situations, but our team has done an outstanding job, I believe, in answering the bell. I want to especially thank our city clerk, Lynn, for jumping in there and figuring out all this technology and these virtual meetings that we've had to arrange on short notice. Between her and Rich, we're legal and we're cyber secure. And, don't know what we would have done without either of them. So thanks to the two of them, and also our administrative clerk, Mary Miller, for maintaining our social media and helping out where she could with the virtual meetings and so forth. So I just want to encourage everyone to hang in there. We'll get through this. As Mr. Wanamaker pointed out earlier, we're confident that we're within 6 or 7 weeks of some form of normalcy, whatever that may look like. So it's just real important to stay vigilant, don't become complacent, adhere to the CDC guidelines at this point and the executive orders, and we'll emerge from this thing on the other side in better shape than we were to begin with. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Commando.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to congratulate everyone. I mean, having these meetings, even though we had just a couple minutes worth of hiccup in the beginning, is not easy, and ours has run very smoothly. We haven't had some of the nightmare stories that I'm sure other municipalities around our area have had. We did it today where we confirmed the mayor's action through the emergency order. I would suggest that we have an agenda item under old business where we just ratify any sort of executive decision that the mayor makes. Not that I think that there would be any sort of issue. I just think it'll help to have the documentation if it comes to a time and point where we're able to submit for, I don't know, FEMA will have reimbursement, but there are a lot of federal dollars that are being put together. I just think it would help to have a package together for us on the ordinances that we passed declaring the local state of emergency, the mayor's emails that extend them, and then to also have the council ratify any of the mayor's decisions in that executive authority also, as well as the city manager. So thank you.
So Ms. Pekowski, you want to make sure that makes the May 4th agenda?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none? Meeting's adjourned at 7:20.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.